Hi, and welcome to the Luma Lounge. I'm Zuli.
Hey, Zuli, I'm Tina.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's great. So today we're going to be talking about the sheltered child in the homeschool world. It's a topic that's kind of hits home in some ways for me. And I don't know about you, Tina. How about you? Do you have some experience or thoughts on this?
Um, Actually, the one thing that always comes to my mind, Zuli, when I think about sheltered children is that years ago, my husband and I heard Ken Ham. Do you know Ken Ham, Answers in Genesis?
Yes.
Yeah, we heard him give this visual, and it has always stuck with us. And so we've always repeated it. And that is that when children are younger, they are like salt shakers turned upside down. You pour the salt in, and there's holes in the bottom, and the salt falls out. And our job as parents is to make sure that we know when those holes are plugged up so that when you pour the salt in, filling them with the word and the knowledge of Jesus Christ, you know that then they're at a good point in their life to then go out. And so, in terms of homeschooling, I know there's always this balance between we want to protect our children against just things in the world or things that we feel might be detrimental to them or their spiritual life versus wanting to make sure that they have that social interaction and that they do have that exposure and that time outside the house. And so anyway, I've just always found that visual to be very helpful in our lives.
Yeah, it's a wonderful visual. I'm so glad you mentioned it. It's going to stick in my mind and help me as I think through things with my own kids. With the sheltered child, it's sort of what we're addressing is maybe the case where it's so detrimental to the child that he or she's being raised in a way that doesn't allow him or permit him to feel confident about going out into the world.
Okay.
And so, but there's various varying levels of that. And in my own experience with my own son, now we're a very social family. We've always been involved in co-ops and in church and in many activities. And so we had plenty of social interaction opportunities. But at home, I could be very controlling of how I wanted my children to do things. And unfortunately, I didn't really catch on to the fact that that was giving my eldest son a lot of anxiety. And it wouldn't be until he was in his late teens that he would be able to verbalize that. And so in doing research and reading about the sheltered child, which is actually the opposite coin of the overprotective parent or the over-controlling parent, I came to understand that with my other children, I would do things a little differently. My expectations of him were that I wanted him to be so successful that oftentimes I would micromanage his activities. For example, how I would ask him to carry out an assignment. And little by little, I came to see that I wasn't giving him enough choices.
Okay.
And so giving choices is one of those key things that as parents we can do to make sure we're not creating a child that feels too restricted or sheltered.
That's so interesting because one of the things that I've noticed too is that I think that sometimes if perhaps we've been too domineering or over controlling, then if we then try to step back and say, okay, let's give this child more choices. Here, you decide how you want to do it. It actually takes them a little bit of time to get used to that. They don't really like that feeling in the beginning, I think, because they're so used to us spelling out everything for them. But it's really what they need. We have all these children. We have our quiver, right? And all of our little bows and arrows, whether we have one or whether we have 10 children, we're going to propel them forth right, in the world, and they need to be ready for that. They need to be able to make decisions on their own and to stand by their choices. And yeah, if we guard them too much and tell them what to do all the time and exactly how to do it, it doesn't afford them any time to mess up a little and learn from your mistakes. You know how people say you learn the most when you fail, and just to experience that freedom on their own. So I totally agree. It's extremely important.
It really is, and unfortunately, in my case, for my son during his junior and senior years, it caused a lot of friction in our relationship, and it was like we took like 10 steps back, and I had to rebuild that relationship by listening to him a lot and understanding that he just felt I had up to that point just not given him enough choices, and so I was able to change, and that's what's encouraging. We can always change when we realize that we're doing something. God has given us the ability to reason and to ask Him for help, and I was able to change. And with my younger children, we've had a lot of more success in this area. But what that can look like, for example, from doing research, as I've researched this topic, is the simple things as getting dressed when your children are little. Do you feel like you have to control exactly with their outfit and exactly how it's going to be put together? That could already be kind of a sign that you might be not giving them enough space.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there's just simple areas where you could say, well, do you want to wear this shirt or this shirt? And then at least you know that they're going to match, but you let them choose.
Right. Because even as much as we need to allow them to make choices, we have to start training ourselves to be aware that we're giving them choices, right? We need sometimes to go through that training ourselves because it's just in our nature. You get so used to being the manager of everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. It just comes with the territory of being a homeschooling mom because we are in control in a lot of ways of we're choosing the curriculum, we're choosing their activities, hopefully with some of their input, but at first not so much when they're little. We're making all the choices, and it does kind of go progressively with age. You can give more and more choices. But I would say that even when they're little, there are some things that you can let them choose and kind of get yourself used to that pattern.
Right. Absolutely. And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention, Zuli, is we also have to be careful not to teeter-totter on the other end. You know, you were sharing your story about your oldest and then how that changed to, you know, I guess now with your youngest. And because I know sometimes in my life I've had those times where I've noticed something with my first that I really want to change and do better because I thought, oh, well, I completely messed that up. And sometimes it could be that the grass is always greener and then maybe you lean too far the other side. So there's always that happy medium that we have to just make sure that you know, that's where we are. And I think the best way to do that is to just always be in prayer. Right? Because God cares about us. He cares about these children. We can't imagine it, but more than we do. He loves them. And so if we ask Him for His help, we need to make sure we are faithful to believe that He's going to give us that help and tell us exactly how to go about doing this.
Absolutely. I think that's the best advice that we could take is to stay in prayer and ask the Lord for that wisdom.
Thanks, Zuli.
Thanks, Tina. It's been great chatting with you today.
You too.